I think everyone wants that Jon Jones heat.
They want that
'Cause-
Jon Jones heat.
Yeah, because I mean, you were on a hot one last week.
That's right. I was on a hot one,
I
and
was,
I got something to say again. So
and I was like, remember, I was kind of on the fence. I was like, it's a cool fight. You know what I mean? It's a Legends fight. I wasn't so sold, but today my attitude has changed.
right. I feel like looking back too from the podcast from last week, you were kind of it's a weird one, right? Because I feel like I feel like you can agree with me, but you don't have to want the same thing I want, right? And I feel like you did agree with a lot of my points, but at the end of the day, if you want that Tom Aspinall fight or some things about that fight are more important to you in a way, then that's fair too. But I feel like you kind of agreed with my points, but you almost want that Tom Aspinall fight. Am I getting that right?
I would say this is what I thought. This is what I really thought. A, the resume of what Tom has been able to accomplish and the resume of what Tom has been able to accomplish is here to here. And I think even Jon Jones said it, and just kind of feeding back on what you had said last week. Now I've had a week to digest all of this, see everything. Um, he's kind of right. It's almost like and Jon Jones used this analogy, a CEO of a company dealing with a guy that just became a partner.
Correct. And that was kind of my take, which you seem to agree with.
I mean, now looking back on it, I get that, yeah.
Right.
And I get people saying, "Oh, he's ducking Tom," and it's funny because Jon Jones is smart enough to roll with it. Look what he just did with his profile picture. He's trolling too.
He is.
He's not dumb.
No, he's not. But
He's more intelligent than I gave him.
that's the thing, right? And even with his fight IQ and his skills, like when you see John with the antics outside of the cage that we've been seeing, and then
Yeah.
you see him in the cage, it's two completely different things. Like this guy's a genius in the cage, so I'll give him that. But as far as Tom Aspinall and these things go, I mean, let me just get right into it. I feel like John and being a partner, as far as like being the higher up in the company, and Tom being like right in the entry level, right? As far as like the title and stuff like that. Let me break down a few things, okay? First of all, I think at this point, right? I think that Jon Jones fighting Tom next, there's some warrant, but it's not the warrant that I think everybody else is going to think that I have for it. My warrant for that is simply this fact. We saw with Stipe, right? He was old in there against the younger Jones. Age plays a factor in these battles. Now, John and Alex are the same age. That fight is basically good 5 years from now because they're both the same age. You feel me? Two 42-year-olds fighting, right? But let me tell you this 2 years from now, John at like 39, meanwhile, Tom at 32, that's a world of a difference than if that fight takes place next. And so personally, I believe that age wise and matchup wise, right, to give fans the best matchup possible, Tom Aspinall should be next at this point because I weighed it in that term. And that's going to outweigh the money factor of Alex Pereira.
Well, so, what weren't you saying last week that he should fight Alex first?
I was saying he should fight Alex first.
Okay,
But
look, you went this way and I went back this way.
but hear me out. Hear me out, right?
I get it.
It's not that I mean if he wants to fight Alex, he totally can do that. But now I'm acknowledging another X factor that I think a lot of people haven't acknowledged, which is the fact that if he does choose to fight Alex next, that Tom Aspinall fight really isn't there.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
and so if we could either never get that Tom Aspinall fight and just have the Alex fight, or if John wants to fight both guys, I believe Tom Aspinall should be next, if that makes sense.
yeah, and I was saying this. It's one of those things where Alex and Tom, their window is so small. It's not so small, but it's pretty small. Of if you're gonna make the fight happen, make it happen. And if Jon Jones truly believes that, like, hey, I really have nothing to prove to Tom Aspinall or to the UFC or to the fans, and I want the mega fight, I'll ask you this: what would you pay more money to see, the Tom fight or the Alex Pereira fight? If the UFC came out right now and said, 499. UFC, where we at? 320. Would you pay 499 for Tom or would you pay 499 for Alex?
Would I pay 4.99 for Tom or Alex? See, that's a tough one for me because it's like I kind of said, right? If we get the Tom fight 2 years from now when John's 39, I almost don't
Won't mean
even
as
care to
much.
see it.
Right. It won't mean as much. Right. I get that.
Right. But if we get, that's what I'm saying. I think we should get Tom Aspinall next and then Pereira. I think I would pay top dollar for that order of the fights.
Let's play this out. Let's say they give Tom and then they give Alex and Kalive, right?
Right.
Say they both lose. Then what?
That's another thing. It could get killed off like that too, right?
Because you lose all the hype. Right now, there's so much hype. Alex Pereira, three-time division champion, beat the GOAT. Both 37, both like at that time. Like or I'll ask you this: who should Alex fight, Tom or Jon Jones?
Right.
Who do you?
Again, if you do the Tom fight, you kill it off, right? And that's where this whole thing gets
Remember
complicated.
Yeah, but it does. But remember before Jon Jones even and did this fight, it was Alex should fight Tom. And that whole conversation is like, nah, fuck that, fight Jon. But I get your point though, because you're right. Because in a year or two from now, it's like, all right, now he's 39. But if you're gonna do it, I would say fuck it, fight Alex. But even Dana was trying to protect Alex and say, nah, you shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? He's gonna get taken
Right.
down.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of like, I wish that John could come out and say it. By the way, are you posting the link right now so people can watch it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, go ahead and do that. Don't worry about me. But what I'm saying is, I feel like John, and we can't have this, but in a perfect world, if John were to say, I'm gonna have one more fight left or two more fights left, we could navigate it more strategically. But I think John's gonna come into this with every fight of his that's next is gonna be his last. You know, so with that said, if it could be John's very last fight, and we just talked about off air, we talked about how really, if you are for the fighters, you want them to make the most money possible. And Alex Pereira is the most money possible. And if it's John's last fight ever, I feel like you should go with the more accoladed and the more money fight. But like I keep saying, if John will do two more fights, do Aspinall first, because he's younger. And then you could fight Alex next. And that one, you could do it for anything. I guess too, because they're two former two-division champions. Even if, because your question, right? Even if Alex were to lose to Magomed, it doesn't take away the fact that he was a two-division champion, and John will always be a two-division champion as well.
I mean, you can still sell it on that fact, but you do lose some of the hype,
Without having the titles on them.
right? And the win streaks,
And the win streaks.
right? 'Cause the minute you defeat that win streak goes down, it's like buying stock. Like, you got it all while it was real low. You did not get it at the top dollar.
So,
Right at the top dollar, bro. The only way they're gonna get better if they both won. Yeah, and that's a chance the UFC would have to take. And now, is that a chance they're willing to gamble on?
I mean, it seems like they want the Aspinall fight. So they are going to gamble on it.
Yeah, and we're here for it too, right?
We're here
And
for both of them because they're two great fights. We win regardless.
but I'll present it this way. Like someone told me that is like if I were to if the UFC one day woke up and said, you know what, we're gonna do a mega fight, $500, I would buy the Alex fight way before I buy the Tom fight.
Of course.
The magnitude just is so big.
It is big. But, I think the thing, too, is after this week played out, I think, Alex, in my opinion, outweighed Tom more. But with all of Tom's presence, with the mink coat and showing up to these things and all the antics and all the things, Tom's an asshole and all these things, I have gotten more hyped for a Tom fight. I got to admit. And, that might be just a byproduct of John no-selling him. But here's what I got to say, right? Because I want to help out the fans and give it the most fair perspective possible. So this is what I'm thinking too. Because the big hang-up, right, is who should John fight first? Tom or Alex? If you do the Tom fight, Alex could lose to Magomed. If you do the Alex fight, John might be too old for Tom. Right? So where do we lie? In my opinion, I think Tom's going to keep winning, right? That's kind of almost a guarantee in fans' minds. Alex, this is a big if he can get past Magomed. So everything we've said, I'm almost reverting back and saying Alex first because he could lose quicker. And then Tom will always be there on the back end.
You know what's interesting is I don't think Alex loses to Magomed.
I'm
I
not
think
saying he does either, but I'm saying if you're going to go on probables, you would expect Tom to reign supreme over the heavyweights more than the light heavyweights. That's my
you know,
thing. You could think differently.
you know what? It's interesting because I was looking at Tom's record. I was getting more interested. It's like, all right, he lost to Blades, but he hurt his knee, right?
Right, that was a fluke. It wasn't really anything.
Right. He redeemed himself on that, and the heavyweight division is so crazy because everybody has a fighter's chance. Everybody has that one hit wonder, and even with the Stipe fight, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, man, Stipe could take a fucking punch. That dude could fucking, he's just moving forward. And I always felt like he had a chance to maybe rock John. He didn't, but I always felt like he had a chance to do that. In Tom, he could fight one of these guys and get dinged. That's not improbable.
Not at all. We haven't seen enough yet because he has no footage.
I mean, I think he's like, what, if you were to take out that knee, he has like 9 wins in a row. That's very impressive, and this division, a lot gets shaken out because there's not a lot of competition almost sometimes, right?
True.
Like us talking like the welterweights, like, oh, we could talk all day on that. Even the middleweights, we could talk all day on that.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's a few and far between, especially if Francis left.
And that's also part of the byproduct of Tom not being a big enough star to fight John. I've been thinking this as far as like, Tom not being a big enough star, it's not John's problem. It's not John's responsibility to make Tom a star. All these guys can become stars on their own.
And John even said that. He goes, why do I fight someone who's I'm helping make a star?
Right. And if you look at Alex, he made himself a star. So that's something to put into consideration. But I'd like to get your definitive thought if you have anything as far as like, who should John fight first?
I'm gonna say Alex all day.
Okay, so John should fight Alex first.
Definitive.
Okay, and is it just because of the box office value? Or is it also because you think that might not be there if he fights Tom?
A few different reasons. The window is now. That window just keeps going like this every month that goes by because pretty soon we're going to be, oh, they're both 38. Like you just said, oh, they're both 39. Oh, they never fought. Oh, they lost. Oh, do it fucking now. Give us what we want. We can't say they're at their prime, but at least at their top of their game.
Real quick one. Also, yeah. I would imagine John would turn around quicker to fight Alex than he will if he's forced to fight Tom.
Yeah.
So that's something to weigh into.
He'll drag that out and be like, well, how much are you going to pay me? He said it. You got to give me fuck you money.
Right. And I think he'll step up a lot quicker and fight Alex probably inside the next year, I would say. Tom, it's going to be over 12 months. He's going to make Tom fight again.
It could be. It very much could be. And especially now, you're not even the interim title. You're not even the interim champion anymore.
He's not the interim champion. And remember last week when I said John said Tom shouldn't be the interim champion? This is the reason why they should have never made the belt in the first place, is because John was always coming back to fight Stipe. So that's why they should have really never made the belt. But they did that to save the card.
Right.
And so that is what it is. But also you got all these fans really clathering as far as like, he's the interim champion. And it's like, guys, that was given to him because John got injured. If John never got injured, there's no interim. And that should have never been given in the first place because John's injury fight return was against Stipe. So the interim should have never really been put into play. It was to save a card. And that got blurred out in the lines. Like people just like, that's a forgotten piece of this whole thing.
Well, it's interesting too because I rewatched almost all of these things, bro. Like I rewatched the press conference. I rewatched Chael, all the guys that were on the ESPN desk after the fight, even when they had the boxer guy on. Oh, what's his name?
Teddy or
is it Teddy?
Honestly, I don't know, but they kept name dropping Teddy.
I think it's Teddy.
The old guy, right?
Yeah, because he's like the fucking he helped train Mike Tyson back in the day.
Right.
And so, like, you're hearing all their perspectives. And Chael, Uncle Chael, he drops on there, is like, yeah, he is no longer interim champ. The minute that bell rang, It's gone.
Now he is on paper still, and that's the funny thing. Chael always likes to say we adhere fiercely to the rules that we make up on site or something like that. And so
Right.
technically, everything we're saying is right, and what Chael's saying is right. But as we stand, Tom Aspinall is the interim champion.
Interesting. Well, and as we stand, Jon Jones is the heavyweight UFC champion.
Yeah, undisputed, defending. He's the defending, the reigning. So it's just an odd one. They should have never really done that. Good thing we have Uncle Chael, because honestly, I didn't really think that.
Yeah. He said it right after the fight. Right after the fight.
Aside from Chael, I don't think anyone else is saying that, right?
A few people online, but he definitely
I think he got that one going.
Yeah, yeah. And then him and Ariel kind of had that when they chopped it up too. So yeah.
Right. And we also talked on air, right? I think it's important to discuss the contrast in points, because we talk about, okay, if it's Tom Aspinall next, Jon wants to renegotiate, right? Now, I'm going to put this as a preface. It's okay for fighters to renegotiate once they come down to like 1 or 2 fights left on their deal, right? That's the time to renegotiate. But when you have 6 or above, I'll say above 3 fights left on your deal, you really are, it's not time to negotiate in the eyes of the UFC. Okay, so putting that out there, usually when a guy resigns and he's got 6 fights, you can't really renegotiate till you have two more left on your deal.
And and I'll just say this: every fighter is going to be at a different position in their career. Because if you just got assigned a 6-fight contract and you're trying to get in to some of those championship fights,
as like an Ian Gary versus a Jon Jones, those are different.
Right. Even Bilal, even if Bilal kind of came out like, oh no, I want to renegotiate, like, you don't have a lot of leverage.
You don't.
Alex Pereira has leverage.
Right. Done
Jon
favors.
Jones, leverage.
Right.
You know?
So with that, or go. You want to finish?
I was gonna say because of someone else could step in and be like, hey, we're gonna offer you more money than you can deny.
Right.
Fuck your contract. Hey, come over here, and we want it. We're gonna keep building this, and you're the guy we want to build it around. And UFC doesn't offer that type of money.
Only to the select few, and I believe Jon is a select few.
Yeah, but even then, it's not like fuck you money.
Yeah, who knows, right? And we will never be able to know what he gets from it. But to break down the
someone's made is like 5 or 10 million on a UFC fight. I don't.
Yeah, they don't make only a Conor McGregor's made around like a 10 million number.
And that's after the pay-per-view like numbers, right?
I believe so. They don't just give you a flat fee, Or they also don't share as far as revenue as far as the event. So whatever the UFC sells for merchandise, right, and food, they don't get any of that. Versus in boxing, Canelo gets a part of that, all of that.
Right.
So, and Jon doesn't get any of that either, and he's basically he's bigger than Canelo in MMA.
And it's interesting too. Like I know we're kind of going in like, but Francis Ngannou, perfect example, right? Dana, it seems like he's so upset because it's like Francis held his foot down, he didn't bend, and he got paid a lot of fucking money. Even though he lost that boxing fight, he got paid I forgot what they said that number
20 million, and it was like 50 million. Yeah, I had it written down in the past.
You know what I mean?
And then he got 10 million in PFL, which is more than anything UFC has gotten other than like a Conor McGregor.
So you have these instances where it's like Jon Jones, he has a lot of leverage. So what you're just saying, you know what I mean? Like, but there's only a few and far between that can even do that, though.
Right. So, and here's a big difference, and this is why I brought this up, right? Because with Francis, as you mentioned, Francis was one of those ones, right? He had a couple fights left on his deal by the time he became champion. And so the UFC was like, let's renegotiate. Let's get you a bigger deal so you don't end up leaving. And Francis was like, no. Right? Now, Jon is in the same position as Francis, except for Jon has like 6 fights on his deal.
That's what I was going to ask. How many fights does he have?
I don't know for sure, but I know he doesn't just have 2. Otherwise, the conversation would be of what Francis was going through. This one, we would know. What I'm saying is we would know the UFC is trying to re-sign Jon. The fact that the UFC is not openly saying they're trying to re-sign him and stuff like that, or no talks of that is happening, is because he's got like 6 fights on his deal. And my point with that is to say this. Chael says because he has 6 fights on his deal, he shouldn't be allowed to renegotiate. Now, right, flip that around. Brendan Schaub says if you're 4 fighters and you're 4-fighter pay, let Jon, the one guy, beat the system for the first time ever and let him renegotiate. In my opinion, it's warranted for Jon to have a seat at the table at this point in his career, which means asking to renegotiate every fight. That's a seat at the table. Every fight, Jon's going to renegotiate. And just to put it out there, though, Chael says the issue with that is once Jon gets past these big money fights, who's he going to fight? You can't pay Jon $20 million to fight a Sergey Spivak. But here's the thing. Jon is done after these money fights. So let him continue to renegotiate because you're not going to get Jon fighting a Sergey Spivak for $20 million. It's just never going to happen,
And I would hope that Jon seems like he's playing all his cards right, that he can leave with the sunset, and not be like some of these fighters who keep chasing the sunset as it's already went down. And he can end on a high note. And that's the one thing I hope, because I would hate to see a 40-year-old Jon Jones who, we're having all these conversations you're talking about, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, now look, he's right. Now look, he's right. We lost, blah, blah, blah. So I hope he ends on a high note and do whatever the fuck you want.
Right. And that's also part of the reason why I've kind of I think subconsciously, you identified some of my subconscious there. Subconsciously, I think that's why I've wanted to see Jon versus Alex, and I've been a little bit vocal, is because time after time, name a fighter who's beat the system. I can't even name McGregor because McGregor's on the outside looking in. He wants in.
GSP Habib.
GSP Habib. Perfect. And so, I'm tired of seeing guys leave washed up and leave with nothing. I prefer to see guys leave like a Floyd Mayweather, an Oscar De La Hoya, where well after their career is done, they're super successful. And forget Oscar and his gay tactics or whatever you want to call it, right? But financially, I'm like, you know what? These are the guys that people can look up to till this day. And Conor isn't even really that, because he's just so crazy.
He's building the BK bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle. But you got GSP, Khabib. We need more of these guys to leave on top and to give that example to the next generation, because the example to the next generation should not be Chuck Liddell. Remember how he left?
He looked yacked at the UFC 309, bro. I was thinking about you about people doing drugs and shit. Yeah. Did you see that video?
I saw Chuck with his girl, yeah.
But did you see the videos up?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Oh, it looked bad.
What did you take from that? Because I didn't see it.
Like, we fucking yacked out.
Like he's retarded or on drugs?
No, yeah, yayed out on coke.
Chuck.
Yeah, you just it's like you look just cracked.
God damn. Those old school people, they do coke over like some other fucking drugs. Like new school people be doing like Adderall.
Well, I mean, everybody does everything, I think.
Right, but like a Chuck, like coke, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that Jon, he should be able to renegotiate, number one, and I say give the man what he deserves for Tom and Alex.
How much does he deserve?
Now, I saw people throw out a number. I don't know who threw out this number. I think it actually might have been Guru. And I pretty much agree with him. Something in the $20 million range. I think that PFL just gave Francis 10, right? You say, fuck you, Francis. You thought that you came out on top and that you made more money leaving us. Jon Jones made more money, which in turn would say that he would have made more money if he would have stayed.
UFC will never do it.
They might do it in spite of Francis.
They are so gung-ho that their product is so supreme that they will set the market of what they pay you, and that's that.
I don't know. We'll see, because Tom Aspinall, these are where the special occasions come. I don't disagree that they set the market, But at the same time, if any situation has ever presented itself in the last 5 to 10 years, it's this one that's going to break the norm, right? This is the only situation that has a chance of doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm calling for a $15, $20 to $25 million payday for Jon to fight Tom.
I'd say minimum 10. Minimum 10.
And listen to this one. If Jon's not worth that money, he says, okay, fine. I'll fight Alex for what I'm contracted at. And when the fight gets bigger after I beat Alex, I'll take 25 to 30 million or 40 million to beat Tom. I think that's a good fucking negotiation right there if I was Jon. Give me 25 million to fight Tom. They say no. Okay, fine. Don't renegotiate anything. I'll fight Alex for my contracted worth. And
I
then
think,
after you beat Alex, imagine how much bigger Tom fight is.
yeah, he would be huge. It'd be massive.
And then that's worth that much money, right?
And, and here's the thing too. And in the meantime, Tom needs to fight somebody. Tom just can't wait for Jon.
Tom needs to headline, like I said last week, Tom needs to headline UFC Manchester in March. He's the heavyweight king on his path. Jon's also the heavyweight king. Right now we have 2 heavyweight kings. I'm enjoying having 2 heavyweight kings.
KO him, get on the mic in Manchester and be like, Jon, where the fuck you at?
Right.
Mic drop. Like Brendan Schaub likes to say, where the fuck you at? Boom.
I 100% agree. UFC Manchester, get him on that main event. But honestly, it doesn't sound like it. I've listened to him a little bit, and he's acting like he'll just wait for Jon as long as it takes. Bad idea. Because he also said, though, but I'm not going to be a Michael Chandler. And it's like, but then you can't say the one thing and then have the other. So you got to figure that out.
Go prove to us and the fans, the Jon Jones and the UFC, that you're undeniable.
They do this in boxing all the time. Undeniable, like Max Holloway. And they do this in boxing all the time as far as, like, sometimes a fighter, it's called a tune-up, right? You don't want to wait. This guy's on a deadline. He's going to fight January of next year. Or sorry, let's just throw a later date. This guy's fighting July of next year. I want to fight. I'm on my timeline. I wanted to fight March of next year. So I took another fight. This happens all the time in boxing. Tom, this is the one thing I walk back. I go all over the place. Tom, you need to walk back your comments as far as waiting for Jon and fight in March. We want you to act like you're the champion, and eventually you and Jon will run into each other. Just please act like you're the champion already. That's what I want from you. Yeah. So I don't, and if he's, how could he ever take that as disrespect? I want you to act like the champion, Yeah, be the champion. In my eyes, you are a champion just like Jon Jones.
A, you're representing your hometown. B, you're fucking being competitive. 3, you're fucking saying nobody can beat me anyway. So yeah, put him in here, and I'm cashing.
What are we gonna do? Don't keep that swag locked up either. Tom's got some swag to him. He needs to show out. He needs to pop out for the fans. He's got swag. He's not like some other fighters who doesn't matter if they come out or not. So Tom needs to take advantage of the fact that people fuck with him and like his presence and get him on that card.
I'm just wondering too, thinking about the guys that are in that division ranked. All right. Jon Jones, Cyril Gaines still right there. Alexander Volkov, Sergey, Curtis Blades, Almeida. All right. Some guys there.
Who do you want to see him fight? He's fought kind of some, like all of those guys.
Yeah, he has, huh?
And the other ones he hasn't fought aren't deserving of the fight.
Yeah. Good question.
Maybe a guy, if there's any heavyweights fighting soon, maybe after a knockout or something, they can call him out.
Because he's fought, he just beat Blades, he beat Pavlovich.
Jailton lost to Blades, you can't do that one.
Typera, he beat Volkov, Spivak, Arkolowski. That was back when he was younger. Cyril Gain.
Cyril Gane's a good one. That's the one we want. That's the one I've been calling for, right?
Transfers Manchester. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been calling for that one. Cyril Gane. That's the one we need to make. I forgot that I called for that.
It's a good one.
Yeah, Cyril Gane. That's the one. No more. Let's end it there because Cyril Gane is the one.
Throw Pavlovich in there, just saying.
Yeah, but Cyril Gane. We want that one.
I think that's the one. That's the one.
You also got to, because you got to, what's going to rise Tom's stock the most? Beating another former champion.